doing with alien implants and UFO healings and things like this. They said that the Area 51 workers have been medically altered in some respect. And by that, one said they were medically enhanced to the point where, they don't get diseases and are going to live a lot longer. Another said that they had so much alien hardware in them that they were no longer basically human. Another said that they had implants that monitored their health and this sort of thing. But yeah, 4 respondents said that.
That is scary.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, because I've heard certainly a lot about implants and what is the purpose of them. And some of the experiencers I've spoken with have had the ETs tell them directly that the purpose of their implants was to monitor their health in one case, to boost their immune level in another, to measure vitals, to measure the levels of pollution, this sort of thing. Because you hear a lot of negative stuff about alien implants. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting because it's matching up with some of what I've heard.
Well, Preston, I've actually had, like Timothy Collin on, which, late Dr. Roger Lear removed his implant, but I have had other people on through the past year that, had implants removed. And, what they said is, well, they had the implant. They never got sick. They never got a cold. They never got ill. And as soon as they had the implant removed, they all of a sudden, they were sick for extended periods. They didn't feel good. They didn't have their energy anymore. So that kind of, fits in, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's something I've heard before. And, we're still at a very early research stage here. And as far as the implants, yeah, that's smoking gun evidence as far as I'm concerned. There's real potential there. But, trying to find out what's going on inside Area 51 is very difficult. One of the respondents in that Fate article said that there were large underground cavernous rooms which actually had alien material in them, a sort of a metallic sheeting, or a shield, which was able to protect the entire area. So, the base itself could be partly alien.
It could be, because, when you look at it in the photographs, it's really nothing there, but it's all underground. And, it's really, how can you say it? Is this not even Area 51? There's underground, bases, like Mary Joyce, who runs a UFO reporting center in Cashiers, North Carolina, claims even where she's at, there's a major underground base which continues to expand and expand. And she claims from, getting information from an ex-government official, which has the highest clearance, that there's aliens sharing technology there. So I think this is going on not just Area 51, but, several places across this country.
Yeah, that's certainly what we're hearing with Edwards Air Force Base, which is literally another show, but it's, my understanding, Edwards Air Force Base goes down some 50 stories, and there are aliens working down there with humans, and it's the same thing we're seeing. And, of course, Wright-Patterson has been heavily implicated, and if you look into this, you will find that there's a lot of Air Force bases out there who are implicated with this crash retrieval phenomena. When I wrote UFOs over California, and I found a number of crash retrieval cases, and they were in pretty much every state I covered, whether it's New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, New York. They all have these sort of things. So it's very clear, as you research this phenomena, that our own military is neck deep in this. And despite all the, government studies that says this does not affect national security, it absolutely does, and an enormous amount of money is being spent towards the subject, while at the same time, publicly, witnesses, people who see UFOs, are made to look like fools, or they're on drugs, or they're just plain liars.
Yeah, or psychopaths.
It's infuriating.
Well, did you see the news a couple of days ago? Of course, Preston, all the news that comes out is fake, as you know. That one of the government officials is in totally amazed shock, said there's trillions of dollars missing. And it just came out, a couple of days ago. Like, they can't account for it. The Pentagon can't account, on this budget. Trillions of dollars are gone. Where did it go? I can tell you where it probably went.
Right, yeah. I know researcher Michael Schratt has looked deeply into this, and it is shocking how much money is being funneled into black projects. And here we have this huge trillion-dollar national debt and this economic crisis, which is largely manufactured and doesn't need to be at all. So I agree with you that the news is largely designed to sort of steer public thought. And we have to be really careful about that, because what we're moving towards now is absolutely disclosure. I don't see how it can go any other direction, simply because this is a real phenomena. UFOs are not going to go away. I think what we're seeing on, speaking from the perspective of ETs and the ET presence, is a pushing or a trend, a movement towards open official contact. And I say that because we keep having these huge kind of waves of activity, whether it's, over Belgium or the Phoenix Lights or Gulf Breeze or Hudson Valley or Mexico City. I mean, we can go on and on and on. And we're a little bit overdue for one, thinking one's going to happen again. And when, could be this next wave which provides a conclusive proof of UFO reality, which we already have. I mean, let's face it, it's in the public arena. But it just hasn't grabbed the public's attention. Well, when it does, then we're going to see disclosure really ramp up.
Well, people, Preston, are living, I don't know what they're living on. Maybe they think that the world is flat. I don't know. I get a lot of those people. Because when I talk about aliens and stuff like this, that they do exist in UFO, I get a lot of people saying, sending me hate mail saying that, no, there's no such thing as UFOs. There's nothing, there's no aliens. But you look at the universe, like I was telling earlier on the show before I brought you on, they're constantly, in the last couple months, have found new solar systems, new galaxies, new planets that could support life. Now, we would have to be really naive to think that we're the only one, the only little planet that has life that isn't, evolved into humanoids. But here's where I differ with you, and I don't want to pick a fight with you. But, talking to Mary Joyce, I know her real well. She was a editor, news reporter when there was newspapers around years ago. One of her contacts, it came up to her, was a high government official with the highest clearance, and she checked him out. Now, he claims in North Carolina, that underground base, there's aliens giving the military technology. But these are the type of aliens that you don't want to meet because they love people, but they're cannibals. And they are sharing technology with us in exchange for whatever. Now, I do believe that there are ETs out there that are trying to take us to the next, level, to the next level right. With our life, our planet. But I do think, just like anything, there could be some bad ETs out there that, that our government probably would work with, again, for exchange of military technology. I hate to say that. You know how the military is.
No, I have to agree with you. I think you'd be incredibly naive to say, everyone out there is our friends. It's a very wide universe. A little patch of the Hubble telescope revealed just how endless it really is. I mean, there is so much out there that the chances of aliens existing are pretty much 100% from the scientific viewpoint. So we know they're out there. The question has always been, are they actually here? Because the stars seem to be so far apart. And despite Einstein's equations that, it would take too long to do light, and light travel is impossible, we're kind of stuck with the evidence and the stories. And we have enough accounts, UFO accounts, to prove that, this is a real phenomena.
What?
And I think we're dealing with different types of ETs. I've talked to one guy just recently, I'm interviewing him in England. He's having pretty negative contacts. He's not happy with these ETs. He's pretty certain most people on our planet have been abducted. but don't remember it, because they're very, very careful about that. But he doesn't think that there are friends at all. But I have to tell you, I have not gotten a single report of cannibalistic ETs. On the other hand, I'm not going to rule it out. There's a lot of missing people.
It's a lot, because, I was reading here recently, and I was talking about it on the show, and James, I did. The FBI, the amount of people that are vanishing, in our own country, and I'm not talking in the national forest, which a lot are missing there, but people are just vanishing, and there's no trace. And the FBI, they can't even begin to figure out what happened to these people. And that is scary from that standpoint. Yeah, we got serial killers out there, but not where, tens of thousands of people are going missing every year with no trace.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a real problem.
You're right.
I agree. Because we're dealing with the situation where it's clearly not all runaways. It's clearly not all murderers. It's clearly not, all one type of thing. It's too much. But what I don't see is a very strong UFO connection with or missing person cases. It does turn up, but it's very hard to track something like that.
Well, it's hard because you know what? Unless you're one of the people that, got picked up and never returned, there's a lot of people that they abduct, like Calvin Parker, his story, a lot of people I've had on the show that, claim that they were abducted and they remember little bits and pieces or a lot later on. But then if you're one of maybe the unfortunate ones that got abducted and never returned, then that's where the hole is, right there.
Yeah, and I'm sure it happens. There's one case from Constance Clear. She was an abduction researcher from the Midwest, and she was interviewing this guy from Texas who didn't remember his encounters consciously, only under hypnotic regression. But it was clear he was having experiences. He had medical evidence to prove it, was seeing UFOs, having all kinds of trauma, PTSD, and had an experience where he was taken on board, and the ETs told him flat out that said, oh yeah, we have to be really careful when we're abducting humans because we've tried to take some away from Earth, and they did not survive. So I'm like, well, there you go. There's a first-hand case right there.
Yeah.
And I know of others. I mean, there's the Kinross case. We never found out what happened to Frederick Valentik. There's a number of cases like that where pilots have disappeared. And so this is the whole UFO story is so complex.
Oh, and it is, and it just folds in on itself over and over. Now we're about 2 minutes away from break, Preston, but I do want to get back from break. I want to talk a little bit more about Area 51 because the aircraft. We're going to go back 20 years ago. Technology and aircraft, took a huge jump, and I just don't think our technology from the 60s to the 70s could have come up with the aircraft that they started coming up with without help. I don't know how you feel about it, but it seems like a lot of the B-1 and all these other creations that it came out. It just came out so, shockingly fast, technology-wise.
Right. Well, this is exactly what some of the whistleblowers are saying, that some of our advanced aircraft were absolutely designed from ET technology or have parts of ET technology implemented within them. Perhaps not fully, some of our own aircraft, but also some absolutely fully. I did talk to one guy who's a whistleblower who worked at Area 51 as a contractor and was walking from one hangar to another with his customer and looked over to the right, and there was this window open in the hangar, and he couldn't help himself. It was not that far away, so he leans over and he looks in and got a real shock because there was a flying saucer. Typical, metallic, perfect flying saucer. And he's like, what's that? And his customer, the guy who had hired him, put his finger to his lips very forcefully and basically gesturing not to talk about it. And they were pretty good friends. They'd worked together for years and years. And after that, he, asked this guy, what was that? And he refused to talk. The customer would not talk.